I ended up choosing emergency medicine for a couple reasons. I would say if you had to compare it to pediatrics, I just felt like emergency medicine provided more hands-on procedures, so I liked that. And then I felt like, I think you mentioned it, kind of like a return on my investment.
Are tuned in to the Money Script Podcast. Today we will share strategies to help you grow your financial literacy and improve your money script. I'll be back with some important announcements. Until then, enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Money Script Podcast. It's your host, Johan Harrison. So happy to be with each and every one of you today. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our friends and family that are in the St. Louis area. I know you were been dealing with some tragedies here lately. And I also just want to give a shout out to y'all because for some reason, y'all are listening to the Money Script Podcast. I went and got the Apple report. And St. Louis was at the top of the charts. So what up, St. Louis? Glad you guys are enjoying the podcast. Keep listening in. Today we are joined by my good friend, Dr. Marvinia Charles. I'm going to call her Marvy because that's what everybody else calls her. And we are going to be talking about her journey as an emergency medicine physician. Again, I'm Johan Harrison, Money Script. The Money Script Podcast. I am a financial advisor. I bring this podcast to you so that you can have a dose of financial literacy. And this is FREE. Yes, you do not have to pay for this. This is get you a little education. So hopefully you can go and get more education and make better financial decisions yourself. So we'll kick it off by starting with our current event in the finance world. And I want to talk a little bit because Marvy, I know this is something we've had a couple conversations about, but I want to talk a little bit about just cash that you may have lying around. Maybe it's in a shoebox, maybe it's in a jar, maybe it's, in between the mattresses, or maybe it's just sitting in a checking or savings account. Okay? If y'all have been following, what's her name? Fannie Lewis. That's her name, right? Out in Georgia.
Oh, yes.
She was just on trial, and she was like, well, the way I was raised is you always keep some cash at home. And I was like, go, Fanny, yeah, you got to keep some cash at home. And she's right. And we also want to make sure that any cash that we have, especially if it's in a bank account, that is actually earning something, especially in these times. When I say these times, we are recording this as of February of 2024. And these days in February 2024, you can go out and get 3, 4, 5% safely without risking your principal. And we're talking about high yield savings accounts. We're talking about short-term CDs, and we're talking about the one that a lot of people don't know about, treasury bills. Okay. And this is a way that you can take your money that you may have parked for a rainy day, or maybe you're saving it for a house, or maybe you're saving for a wedding, or maybe you're saving for whatever you're saving for, but shorter term goals. In this day and age, you can have that money actually making some money for you. So let's do some quick math. Imagine you have $10,000 that's just sitting in a savings account. And let's pretend that savings account is paying you nothing. Or let's say it's paying you something, 0.5%. Okay, 0.5% on $10,000. If we do the math on that, we're talking about getting about $5 in interest over a year. Okay. If you took that same $10,000 and you had it in a treasury bill, that treasury bill over the course of a year, if you get 5% for the whole year, 5% of 10,000 is $500. So tell me, where would you rather be? Earning like a treasury bill. You want to earn like 12 cents a month, or do you want to earn like, well, no, it's not even that. I can't even do the math. 8 cents a month or something, whatever the number is, some pittance for it sitting in a savings account. Or we can move that to a treasury bill and be getting paid, what is that, $42 a month or something like that? And you're not taking on any additional risk. Okay. So if you are that somebody, take a look at what you have, look at your options. Again, treasury bills, you do have to either go to directly to the treasury, US Treasury, so treasury.gov. If you go back to other podcasts, we talked about the I-bonds. It's the same place you buy the I-bonds. You can buy treasury bills there. It's a little cumbersome because you can only buy them when new ones are being issued and the inventory can run out and on and on and on. They're a lot easier to access inside of a brokerage account. So like a Charles Schwab, like a Fidelity. I don't know if Robinhood's offering them yet, but through a brokerage account, you can go and access treasury bills and get access to that higher rate of return. But if you don't want to go that step to the treasury bills, at least look into a high yield savings account. There was an article out about Capital One. Capital One, I know y'all trying to buy Discover right now. We'll see how that goes. But we know the trick you paid on all your customers, where you had a high yield savings account that was high yield like 3 years ago because it was paying 1% while everybody else is paying 0. But then when rates went up, instead of increasing the yield on that account, you opened a new account and didn't tell your customers. I mean, maybe you did, but you didn't tell in a way where they were like, oh, let me move all my money out of this account and go put it in this other one because this is now the one paying the yield. And so you're left holding the bag and not getting any return on that. And I know your customers were upset about it. And y'all apologize, but come on, Capital One, really? What is in your wallet? So my point is, if you have some cash that's lying around that maybe is for a rainy day fund or maybe it's for a short-term savings goal, look for a higher yielding account. You have Ally Bank, you have Goldman Sachs, Apple Bank, you have, well, of course, the Capital Ones of the world. A lot of the online banks are offering a higher yield than the brick and mortar Bank of America's, Wells Fargo's. And usually Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they'll have a whole lot of other rules. They're like, oh yeah, we'll give you 3%, but you got to give us 50 grand and you can only take it out once a month. There's other places you can go. If you want some help with it, reach out to me. But enough about that. Marvi, how you
Yeah.
doing? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
That's good. That's good. So this episode, if you are a medical student, this episode is especially for you. If you are a high school student that's considering medicine, this episode is especially for you. If you're someone that just has some goals and meet obstacles when you're trying to reach those goals, this podcast is for you. So Marvi, tell us a little bit about your journey. I know your first name now is Doctor. Actually, let me ask another question. How many times do you go see a patient and they say, go get the doctor? How often does that happen?
It happens. It happens. I don't think it's like all the time, but it does. I don't think they say get the doctor. They'll say we didn't see the doctor.
Oh, we didn't see.
Like we'll go through the
yeah.
whole, physical exam, plan of care, and then they're like, "Where's the doctor? We've never seen the doctor."
Wow, never seen the doctor. And then you're like, well, let's get your head checked now because you must have not been able to read where it says doctor right there on my shirt. So tell us, when did you know that you wanted to be a physician?
So that's kindergarten, and we have proof of that. I know
we have proof. We got receipts.
We have a video of me at graduation, telling the crowd what I want to be when I grow up. And it was specifically a pediatrician.
Ah, okay.
So not just a doctor. I already knew I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Got it. All right. So I guess I have to believe my daughter when she said kindergarten, she said she wanted to be an artist. So I have to believe that that's what she's going to be.
It can happen that early.
It can happen. All right. Well, that's good. Maybe I won't need as much money for college. She'll just become a great artist and be like,
yes,
all right,
I've seen her art pieces behind you, so they are.
Yes,
good.
Yes, you have.
See, I've even noticed.
Yeah. And I've been switching them out too as they have progressed, and the latest one's pretty good. We'll put a link to it in the show notes later. So kindergarten, you knew. So tell us about the journey then. Once you got to high school, I mean, of course. Were you the type of student that, was getting straight A's and, always in the biology lab and chemistry lab, that sort of thing? Or, tell us a little about those later years.
So I went to high school and it was a specialized high school. So I was in their science research track. So I was always involved in STEM one way or the other during the school year. And then it allowed us, being in science research at that high school, it allowed us to get exposed to like summer programs, internships. So I was able to apply for these things, sophomore year, junior year, and just stay involved with science and STEM.
Got it. Now, were you someone that applied to multiple colleges, or did you know exactly where you wanted to go and said, nope, I'm just going there?
So my last year of high school, I did like a hybrid program. So I was in high school, and then they had like a program at a college where you would go after and start taking like college courses, but it was affiliated with the Sophie Davis School of Medicine and City College in New York. So I applied to Sophie Davis, and I applied, and knew I wanted to go to like I preferred to go to a kind of like a state school. So I applied to a lot of like CUNYs, SUNYs. So I don't remember how many I applied to, but I applied to multiple.
Now, did you also apply for scholarships, or were you planning to pay out of pocket? I mean, what were did you have concerns about the financial aspects of college?
I think it came up in conversations in terms of like, when you did any programming that the school put together, like that's something that came up. Like, how do you pay for college? But I felt like my parents were like, don't worry about it. Like, it'll be okay. So I knew it was a thing, but it didn't really affect how I applied, where I would go. I mean, I did take into consideration like once I got accepted, like where it would cost me less, but still have
Right.
a quality education. But yeah, I just knew
Got it.
that it'll be okay. At least my parents made it seem that it'll be okay.
It is okay, because this is the thing to know about going to college and medical school. Or not just medical school, but if you're going to college with a purpose and you already know the sort of income you'll have in the career, it's not a bad idea to borrow for a purpose. I mean, no one says, oh, I won't say no one, but you don't hear people saying, oh, I never want to borrow $400,000 to buy a house. No, they want a house. And if the house costs $400,000 and they can't save up $400,000, there's someone standing by willing to lend the money. And, they attach it to, oh, this is my house, this is where I'm going to live. So it has a purpose, it has value to them. The same thing can be true about college. If that education has a value to you, and you know that on the other side, that either there's going to be forgiveness because you're going into public service, or you're going to be making the sort of income where you can afford to pay back the money that you borrowed, go for it. I don't like to see when I have clients that come to me with their children, like, oh, we got to borrow for a kid to go to school. I'm like, what's your kid want to be? I don't know. And you want to borrow how much to send them where? Maybe your child should go to community college for a little while till they figure it out, because why borrow all of that money if then we don't have a plan of how it's going to get paid back? And I feel like a lot of people get caught in that trap. So, all right. So you did your undergrad, and then it was time for medical school. So tell us about the medical school choices and your thought process there.
So I applied once. Yeah, I applied once, and I applied broad. So I did DO and MD. I interviewed at both, and I kind of did the same thing. Like, where did I get in? Where did I get in? How much it's going to cost? How close I am from home and family and support system, and kind of made a choice like that.
And so where did you end up going?
Oh, I went to SUNY Upstate in
SUNY
Syracuse.
Upstate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
SUNY Upstate. And SUNY stands for something University
State University of New York.
You said State University. I knew that. I knew that. Okay. So SUNY Upstate New York. Now, where are you from originally?
I did high school and college in New York, but I grew up in Haiti up until 2000.
Okay, so Haiti to New York. That sounds like a bit of a culture shift there, and climate shift. How did you adjust to never seeing snow before in your life to it snows 3 months out of the year?
So it wasn't much of a culture shock, although I lived in Haiti. My parents are separated, so like the academic year I spent with my dad, and then like vacations I was here with my mom. So it
So
was just
then
times
that's
like,
my point, though. You vacationed when it was hot. So
and
what was that
Christmas.
first winter Oh, so you did some Christmases.
Christmas,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
Christmas
All right.
and the summer vacations, but mostly summer vacations.
But that
Um,
upstate New York in the wintertime, I'm sure that was you.
I
I'm
hate
sure you.
winter. That's
Okay.
why I'm
Yeah,
in Texas.
that's what I was getting at. That's I
Yes,
and
that's why I'm in Texas, not in New York or Chicago. It's
there
because
you
I
go.
hate winter.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay. All right. So SUNY Upstate. So then, as a physician, after you're done with medical school, and how many years of medical school did you have to do?
4 years.
So 4 years. So you did 4 years of undergrad,
Yes,
4 years of medical school, but then you're not done because now you have to go into residency.
yes.
And is that when did the decision of pediatrics versus emergency? When did that shift happen?
Couple of things happened. So you do the clinical rotations the last 2 years of med school. So you go through all the rotations. So I went through pediatrics and emergency and other specialties. I ended up choosing emergency medicine for a couple of reasons. I would say if you had to compare it to pediatrics, I just felt like emergency medicine provided more hands-on procedures. So I liked that. And then I felt like, I think you mentioned it, kind of like a return on my investment in terms of once I start working and the money that I earn, that I felt that emergency medicine had a higher return.
Mm.
And then I felt schedule wise in terms of emergency, I preferred over pediatrics. It's like shift work, and I can do as I guess a woman who is looking forward to having kids. I wanted something too that I can have a good schedule. So I can work a lot and I can work as little as I want.
Got it. Got it. We're gonna get into that a little bit because I'm a little familiar with your journey there. Um, so tell us about residency because in residency there's this whole process of matching, and I know there's like match season. Isn't that coming up soon or
I think
something?
like March.
Yes, Mari. Yeah, it's coming up. That's what I
Yes,
thought. So this episode will be right in time, right on
yes.
time for that. So tell us a little about your matching experience. First, for the listeners that aren't familiar, can you talk to us about what matching means and why is it such a big deal?
Okay, so in terms of matching, once you're done with medical school, same thing, you'll apply to a residence. Well, you'll choose a specialty. So I chose emergency medicine, and then I will choose and apply. Well, I apply to different residency programs where I want to train to become an emergency medicine physician. I don't recall how many I applied to, but wherever I got in was not my first choice. So if I
Okay.
remember match day, it was horrible. Like I cried like a baby. I was like,
Oh,
oh my God, I don't want to go there. But it was the best experience. So
oh,
I
so
would
you
say,
did. So okay. So
yeah, yeah. No,
there's no such thing as matching, and you're like, oh, I don't want it. Just pick a different one. Would you have to like wait a whole year to get matched again? I mean, how does that work?
actually, I don't quite recall. I think, I mean, there are ways, like you can be like, I don't want this, but whether you get in somewhere right away or you can swap, I don't know what the process is anymore.
Mm,
But it's not the end of the world, I guess. If you ended up somewhere you didn't want to, the next year you can figure it out. Or if there's,
got
yeah.
it. Okay. All right. So you matched. You had to go someplace horrible. You cried, but you went there.
At least I thought it was horrible, but
Thought it was horrible.
yeah.
You got there, trudged through 2 feet of snow each way uphill, made it happen. And then you finally graduated from residency. And so now
Mhm.
that's four, and what, three for residency?
No, I did a 4 year residency as
Four.
well.
So four,
Yeah.
4, and 4. So 12 years of
Hmm.
education,
Yes.
12 years of delayed gratification, you know, 12 years of either making no money or making very little money because residency doesn't pay, even though you're being a doctor light or doctor junior, residency doesn't pay what it pays as a attending physician.
No, I
So
think
after,
during my time, my residency is 2012 to 2016, maybe like 50 to 60, I think 50,000.
wow. And that's after already being in school for 8 years. So it's like 8 years of learning and now another 4 years of training, only getting paid 50, 60 grand a year.
Yeah,
But all the demands of being a physician, the hours,
right.
the
I guess
labor,
even more actually as
even
a
more,
resident.
yeah, because they're like, let the residents do it, and you still are you're still in training, so you still have all these other
Like,
metrics that you have to deal with the training, and
study for
Whew.
exams.
The board
Still.
exams, exactly. Oh man, so
Mhm.
that's a lot. That's a lot. So tell me then, once you were done with residency, now it's time to find a job. So when in the residency state, what stage of residency did you start thinking about where you want to work, where you want to live, that those sorts of things?
So for me, I did another 2 years of fellowship.
Oh, so
Um,
you just like, you know what? Who wants to make real money? I just want to
I
keep learning.
know.
Learning's
That would be one of
fun.
my advice at the end if there's advice sections. Um,
Oh, there is. It's coming. That's why we're doing this.
okay, perfect. So I did 2 years of fellowship, and it was an administrative fellowship. It came with like an MBA program. Um, so for me, the last year, there aren't that many admin fellowship. So I applied to a few. I think I went down to like two of them, and the one I chose was in Dallas. So that's how I got to Dallas in 2016.
Got it. Okay. So 2016, you come to Dallas and you are now officially fully. So wait, you came to Dallas for the fellowship or you came to Dallas as an attending physician?
So because admin is not a GME fellowship, so it's kind of like both. So I came in as an attending, and I was under kind of like the supervision or mentorship of a medical director, and they kind of took me in.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Awesome.
So
Well,
I
that
worked
is
90 hours at the time. 120 was like full time, so 90 clinical hours, and then 30 hours were like admin hours.
got it. Okay. So, but you basically learned your way all the way around the hospital, essentially.
Right. And then in addition to the 120, I was taking like MBA courses.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. You just don't like time, do you? Man, or free time, that is. Well, you do now, I'm sure. So, a lot of now for those you're aware, Marvy, of course, but for those of our listeners who aren't aware, at Manuscript Wealth Management, one of my specialties is working with physicians that are transitioning from medical school to residency, from residency to fellowship, or from medical school fellowship and then into an attending physician, and all the financial decisions that are involved there, from understanding your student loans, what sort of programs are out there. And then once you start making some real money, how to then make that money work for you, pay off your loans, things of that nature. Now, one of the questions that comes up a lot from our physicians that are transitioning from residency into attending is, do I want to go work for a company full time? And have all the benefits that come along with that, meaning health insurance, life insurance, 401k, paid time off, things of that nature, some job security in some situations, or do I want to become an independent physician and maybe do what's known as locums tenens, or maybe moonlighting is probably a more common term that people are familiar with. I don't have to use the Latin words there, but being able to have multiple employers or maybe a single employer. And there's benefits that come with that. And there's also some drawbacks to it. You have to pay your taxes on your own. You have to get your own health insurance, set up your own retirement plan. But there can be some also benefits that go along that as well, because you have the choice. And sometimes you can make more money as well. So, Marvy, can you talk to our listeners a little bit about your pathway as you were going into attending? And it sounds like you started with a corporate role because of the program you're in, but then where did your career go from there? And what was some of your thought process around your choices?
Okay. So I feel like from 2016 to 2024, I've gone through all of the processes. So I think I started 2016 to 2019 as like a W-2. I did the fellowship and the 90 clinical hours. I at that shop, it was 100% RVU. So that's like one of the models out there now. So for me, as a new graduate, not working on a lot of hours, the 100% RVU wasn't great for me at the time. And I
Let's
think that's
pause for 1 second for those that are hearing these terms that you may not be
okay.
familiar with. RVU means you're getting paid based on the volume of patients that are coming to the hospital, and a few other metrics as well, versus just you get paid whether you see a patient or not, whether you're sitting on your butt or you're actually sticking something in someone's butt, you get paid. That was a bad
Correct.
analogy, but I started with sitting on your butt, and that's where I ended. Continue.
Yes. So then so my goals at the time after the 3 years, 2016 to 2019, after the 2 years, I wanted to pay off my loans really fast. So my goals were a little bit different. I just wanted to basically make money and pay off all debts. So I changed to like a 1099 model, hourly model, and I've been doing that since 2019. Um, and then it allows some flexibility as well. I think at the beginning I said, you could work as much as you want and as little as you want, or as you choose. And I think, year to year, month to month, things were different in my life. So it allowed me that flexibility to do basically freedom to do whatever I wanted. It came with either more money, less money, being able to go on vacation, not on vacation, but I had the freedom to do what I wanted. And then I'm also now part of the VA system. I work for the VA in Dallas, and that is since 2019 as well. So that's an employee model, like with federal benefits and, serving the veterans, which I enjoy. So I don't remember what the initial question was, but
Oh, no,
that's
you answered it.
okay.
It came down to choice and flexibility. You started off as an employee, W-2, and then your life started to change and your values change, your goals change, and you
Mhm.
saw, hey, here's an opportunity where I can have more control of my time, potentially make more money. You had to deal with some of the back end part, the taxes, the health insurance, et cetera.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you still were open with having that choice of being able to do that. And so much you were able to choose to even add a W-2 back into it. Okay.
Correct. Correct.
And I knew this already, but I wanted you to highlight it for the listeners, because we have a lot of the people that listen to the podcast, Marvy, are people that meet me at ASEP and what's the other
Mhm.
one? Those other ones. Uh
AAM or
AAEM,
NMA.
exactly. The organization you're a part of, CV Roman, NMA, et cetera. A
Nice.
lot of when I meet students, when I meet residents, they're like, oh, I'm not ready to talk about it. I was like, great, that's fine. Here's something so you can listen to that's not about medicine, to start
Mhm.
getting some financial literacy, because that's not medical school doesn't involve financial
Mhm.
literacy. Okay. MBA programs will involve some macro and microeconomics, but none of that still focuses on personal finance.
I
That's the one
agree.
thing our education system is missing for everyone. There's no equitable personal finance. There are schools that are starting to make a financial literacy course or personal finance a part of either high school graduation or even at the college level. But I mean, I never had any desire to be anything close to a physician, but I still had to take biology and chemistry.
That's true.
But no matter what you want to be in these United States of America, or I guess in any part of the world that's industrialized, money is going to be a part of what you're doing, because you're going to get paid. You're not going to go work for free. You're going to get paid in money, and you're going to have bills that you have to pay to be a part of that society. And we don't learn how to manage that part. So, but that's why the podcast is here. So, Marvy, thank you so much for sharing with us your journey from kindergarten all the way until today, where you are a emergency physician doing
Mhm.
some 1099, where you get to choose your relationships, your employers, where you go work, and doing some W-2 where you're serving in the VA. Like you said, it sounds like that's something that's just important to you to do. It's not so much about the money there, but the impact that you're able to make. And I'm sure there's a little bit of stability it provides you as well, because the VA is not going anywhere anytime
I
soon.
I would say that because during the COVID pandemic, the VA was the only stable thing. That's
Yeah,
true.
no, that's true. That's true. That's true. It a government, they make decisions very slowly.
Mhm.
Um, so I'd love for you to, just with your experience, if you can just give some of our listeners just some advice that you would give to them, especially to the one that may be struggling to make some of those decisions, or if there's some mistakes that you made, that you can just tell them, hey, let me go ahead and check that box for you, learn from me.
Okay. So mistakes. I don't consider them mistakes, but learning experience. And if I had to advise like a mentee or sister, brother, this is what I would say. In terms of, I think we didn't mention it, but we touched upon it. I probably, if I had to do it again, just do a 3-year residency for emergency medicine and probably not do the fellowship. So that's like 3 years of money that you will gain, like as an attending. Those 3 years, let's see. Yeah, one, I just got paid as a resident, and then the 2 years I got paid like basically 90 hours as an attending, but only for like 90 hours because the other 30s were like fellowship and MBA classes and stuff like that. So that would be one. And then you said, oh, in terms of I think 1099 and locums. I feel like I get a lot of questions about, oh, how do you do it? Like, it's so scary. But I think locums has so many benefits to it. It's worth the try. It's not for everyone, so you may try it and not like it, but I think a lot more women should try it as well. I've been doing it since 2019 and I don't want to stop, to be honest. But it just allows so much flexibility. I feel valued when I go to, more like places that need physicians in terms of the staff. What else? It's just very rewarding. And again, like if you feel a little bit overwhelmed and burnt out, you can decrease the amount of hours you're working. And if you want to make a little bit more money or you're not burnt out, again, you can work as many hours as you want. And then I think taxes is a big thing as well. People ask a lot. They're like, oh my God, these taxes. I may not have the knowledge. Well, at the beginning, I didn't have the knowledge, but there are people available to help you navigate those barriers in terms of when do you pay taxes, how much taxes do you pay, etc. So.
Get to go to the experts. Just like experts are coming to you to get medical treatment, go to experts to get financial and tax help as well. Absolutely. Yes. All right. So final question. With all of our guests, we like to ask them each the same question, just to learn a little bit more on connecting the dots of our money scripts. And a money script is just how we think about money. And usually they are impressed upon us at a very young age. So with that, Marvi, what is your first memory of money?
Let's think about it. I don't have a specific age, but I would say a lot of it is before 13. And 13 is when I moved to the States, 2000. So that's why I remember. So if that's okay, before 13?
No, that works. That's fine.
Okay. I would say one is that I felt like my dad and mom kind of gave me the mindset of quality over quantity. In terms of, so they would buy, even if you had one parachute, once it was like a good parachute, they were okay with it instead of buying a whole bunch of stuff. So I feel like the way I deal with money now as well, I would rather buy one thing, quality, than have a whole bunch of stuff. So that's one. That. And then two, I felt that my parents were either family or friends, like their sisters, brothers, or friends. They would expose me to people that were either doctors, lawyers, or family members, or who had money, and it seemed attainable. Like I never thought that I would not be able to reach I guess gain wealth. So I guess exposing your kids to certain things is good. And then let's see. So quality. Oh, and another thing, I felt that my dad did a lot, like before 13, like I guess from before 13, is that he was always available. So I felt like he wasn't like this guy who was just like out there working, trying to get money. Like he felt like he found a balance. Like this is how much I'm okay to live with this child and have a good life, and I'm gonna be there. So I felt like the times that my dad wasn't there was probably the times that I was like at school or at like, my grandparents or at my cousin. Like it felt like my dad was always physically present. So the value of just like the time, spending time with people over money. So those are, I guess, the three I can think of right now.
Beautiful. Those are beautiful. Well, Marvi, thank you so much for spending some time with us on the Money Script podcast. Everyone, go check your cash.
Yes,
in a jar, if it's in a coffee can, if it's in a shoebox. Here's the thing about, so let me go back to this really quick, just to make sure I take this all the way home. So if you have money sitting in one of those accounts or in a shoebox and it's not, or in your safe like Fanny, you're not losing money by it being there, not earning anything. What you're losing is purchasing power. Okay. And I'll just do this really quickly just to give you a quick analogy, and this should take it all the way home for you. If it costs you $50 a week to fill up your gas tank, I know everyone's like, $50, where are you getting gas? But let's just go with me here. It's easy math here. It costs you $50 a week to fill up your gas tank. And if you were to go on January 1st, beginning of the year, and say, all right, I'm going to get an envelope and I'm going to put 52 $50 bills in there so I can pay for gas. And we're going through the year, and sometime in March, you lose the envelope. Oh, dang, lost it, can't find it. So you got to start buying gas with your debit card or some other source. Fast forward 3 years later, you're moving out of your apartment or house or new house, and voila, there's the envelope. It had fallen behind the couch. You hadn't moved the couch in a while. You're like, oh, look, there's still $30, $50 bills in here. More than likely, you're not going to be able to take that $50 and fill up your gas tank because time has gone by and there is a greater likelihood that the price of gas is more 3 years from now than it is today. Now, I know gas prices go up and down, but you get my point. Because if we look at historically, prices have been increasing. That's called the inflation rate. We did a lot of episodes about that in the past, bringing it up again. Inflation on average in the United States, it's about 3%. So if you have money that's not earning at least 3%, the longer you have that money, the more purchasing power it is losing. So that's why we should find places where you can make some money. So again, Marvi, thank you so much for joining us on the Money Script podcast. For all of my medical students out there, and especially everyone in St. Louis, what up, St. Louis? Thank you for all the listens. I don't know what I did. I haven't been to St. Louis in a while, but I don't know who's there sharing the love, but please keep sharing it. Maybe it was a whole classroom listen to it. I don't know what y'all were doing, but thank you. I appreciate you.
Number one.
You say it again?
We have to make Texas number one. So
we gotta make, yeah, that was weird. Actually, you know what? No, I got one for you, Marvi. We gotta make Haiti get on the map, because I don't think Haiti's on the map. So once this episode records, I'm gonna make sure you send it directly to some folks in Haiti so they can play it.
So do you have zero for Haiti right now? Do you have your
Haiti is a big zero right now. Okay. Now, I did have some friends that you and I both know. They went over to Africa last year, 2 years ago. And we now have listeners in Africa, which I thought was great because they were passing around while we were there. I was like, oh, thank you so much.
I'll make sure Haiti gets on your map.
We're going to get Haiti on the radar. And then, yes, Texas, y'all supposed to be number one. We right here in your backyard. Okay, so tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to get their dose of financial literacy today. And we will see you next time here on the Money Script podcast. Peace.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I'm back. Wasn't that a great show? I hope you learned something. I know I did. Now, before you go trying anything you heard today, remember, it is not intended to be specific tax or legal advice. If you need that, go see a CPA or an attorney. If you would like any complimentary consultation with a knowledgeable advisor, visit moneyscript.com and schedule a 15-minute consultation. Want Johans to come speak at your next event? Go to the Money Script website for that too. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. MoneyScript Wealth Management is a registered financial advisory service in multiple states. Want to learn more? Get the full disclosure on our website, moneyscript.com.